Now it's time to bring the Understand module to life through some templates and our Better World Books case study. The key point of Understand is, so what? What's the meaningful insight of this particular slide that you're showing me, and how does it fit into the overall story? The first template is a basic final slide template. A few things I want to highlight. First is, make the headline be the so what. What's the main point of this slide? Make it easy for your viewer to get the gist. In fact, a rule of thumb is anyone who reviews a slide should be able to get the main point and understand the support within 5 seconds. Instead of saying revenue or market, the insight or the so what is the market is growing rapidly. Additionally, you would put the details of the graph name below that as well as units. And then in this case, you would be illustrating column charts over time with a CAGR, compounded annual growth rate, calculated. We call the CAGR, or anything pulled off to the side or the bottom, essentially a kicker or a sub-so what, and those help illustrate the details of the slide. Don't forget, every slide should have a source and a slide number. Generally, less is more. Take your slides and make it easy to get the main point. In the master slide deck that accompanies the master class, you can see these details of a link to unnecessary graph content as well as flat icons that can help in this process. The next template is what I call the chart of charts, one of my favorite slides that captures most of the types of slides to get you started on analysis and presentation of ideas. I won't go into great detail on this, again available in the master slide deck, but I will highlight there are different purposes and you should understand the intent of a slide and how it might fit in the story. For example, a common use of charts is for distribution to show how things lay out. Another one is composition, the pieces of a puzzle. Another is relationships. How do two variables come together, or three? And then finally, comparison of units or comparison over time. These are all different ways to show charts and the basic starting point for any slide. Now to Better World Books. I'm going to walk you through the preliminary findings deck, which is an interim meeting during the course of the project where a lot of these so what's or understand insights were shared with the client. The first slide is called the executive summary slide. Every slide deck should begin with one slide that tells you the story or previews the entire slide deck. In this case, there are 3 topics for discussion: assets, personnel, and implementation, with a few bullet points beneath of that. You would highlight the next one as a section divider, and also I want to introduce trackers where you can tell someone where they are at all points in time. You can see we're in the assets discussion. We then lay out some of the data, definitions of assets, in this case, gift card spending of different age categories. Notice the kicker to the right and also to the bottom. It's helpful sometimes to highlight key points of a slide with red dots or boxes, as you can see illustrated in this particular slide, and that ties to the kicker or the sub-insight at the bottom. Another example of highlighting the main point about saving money, getting a discount, by far the largest reason for purchasing gift cards. Often you do have to have some text, especially in leave-behind slides. Putting them in boxes and connecting the relationships is helpful, and of course having a kicker at the bottom. I think it's neat when people have a picture of a slide that might be headed to a different picture, and you can see here it's an illustration of sample data outputs. Then again, the tracker comes in to show you that you're moving to section number 2, setting the definitions and context, and then having sub-trackers within this section: recruiting, selection, and retention, guiding you through a conversation of campus groups, applications, some more stacked bar comparisons, pictures to describe different venues and different groups that they might target. And then you can see as you pull through these, again, with stacked bars and bar column comparisons, it moves to section 2, which is selection, as the subpoint within this section. Some neat pictures and flat icons, some more text, laying out some dimensions and some key text. Incorporating video, as you can see here, is another neat way to illustrate points. And then it moves to the final section, implementation, again, defining the terminology and showing specific steps about moving forward. It's also helpful to have an appendix in the end with additional ideas and additional slides that maybe weren't critical to the key story but might come up in Q&A.